Hey Algebra 1, I want to do a quick video going over your review. Yes, this does say test, but just remember, like I said in class, this is not your test, this is the review. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to go over the last page of the review. We got the chance to review most of everything else in class. If you need more help or more review, you can always, again, go to Google Classroom and click on the Google Doc in the classroom. Oh, I guess I could go here. Click on that Google Doc there, right there, and it'll have a list again of everything you need. IXL, links to the Edpuzzle that you can use for practice and review. And again, here's your Edpuzzles. Let me go back to the other screen. If you click on, let's say you're in third period, you can click on your third period, ECV Algebra 1, and any minute it should pull up all the videos you guys need. And so you have the quiz review, you've got 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, 9.4, and 9.5. Everything you need to review, okay? So if you're stuck on a certain method, you can go back here for review for that, okay? Alright, so let's start the video. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the last page of review, so you can turn to your last page, and it's number 8. And so we're going to focus on this page, okay? So again, what you want to do is you want to look at what's the best way to approach this problem. So you do that by working first at seeing, can I do factoring? Can I do GCF? Can I do the X? Can I do the X box? Can I do one of those? Will that work for this? And then after that, you want to try to complete the square. And if that doesn't work, well then you move on to the next one. And the last would be the quadratic formula. And we went over that in class on the first page. Okay. So for this problem, again, let's try factoring. Well, we can't do GCF because they don't all have X. So let's try the X. 43 here, 16 here. There's no two numbers that will multiply to 43. So this isn't going to work either. So then, if that's the case, we want to move on to completing the square. Let's try that. But remember, completing the square, what we want to do, let me zoom up a little bit so you guys can see it a little better, is we want to move the last numbers, or move the numbers over to the right side. So the first step is we want to subtract 43 here. Okay, that goes away. Now I have x squared plus 16x equals negative 43. Once you get to that step, now we do our box. And I showed you guys the shortcut in class. You can do the shortcut as well. I'll show you that in a minute. And now you want to put the first term, x squared, here. And then you're going to put half of this, the middle number, which is 16. Here, you're going to put it here and here. So half of 16 is 8x. Okay, now we know that to get x squared, we have to multiply x times x. And if you notice, this box isn't filled in yet. That's the last box you're going to fill in when we complete the square. Okay, now here, x times what equals 8x? Well, that's 8. And if you notice, this is the same thing on the other side. So this is also 8. Okay, and then to complete the square, or our box, we do 8 times 8, which is 64. Okay, so now what do we do with that? Well, you're going to take that same 64, and you're going to add it to both sides. So again, we add that 64 to both sides. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to factor, or do the x with x squared plus 16x plus 64. But the nice thing is that I don't need to figure that out because it comes from here, the x and the 8. This x and 8, here and here, are my factors for this quadratic. So then I can just write x plus 8 here. And there's two x plus 8s, so I'll write x plus 8 squared, because there's two of them. And then I'll do negative 43 plus 64. Oh, let's see. Negative 43 plus 64. Well, that equals 21. So we'll put 21. And then remember, when we have parentheses and equals a number, we want to square root both sides. Square root both sides. That makes the parentheses go away. Now I have x plus 8. And don't forget, oh yeah, well first, square root of 21. Well, we can't really do square root of 21, because if I did that in a calculator, let's show you. Square root of 21 gives me some decimal number, but we don't want decimals. Okay? At least not yet. Okay, so now I would do square root of 21 and leave it in the square root. Then don't forget that it's plus n minus the square root of 21. And then the last thing is we want to subtract 8. So now our first answer is going to be positive square root of 21 minus 8. And our second answer will be negative 21 square root minus 8. But here's the thing. I want you to do decimal answers. Okay, so let's figure out what the decimal is. And we'll do that by doing square root of 21 minus 8. And I want it rounded to the nearest thousandth, so 3 places after the decimal. So that'd be the 7. And we look at the 4. Does the 4 change the 7? Does it stay or go up 1? It stays. So then our answer is negative 3.147. Okay, now let's do it again. Now we need to do negative square root of 21. Now remember, on the calculator for negative, you want to click on the button down here, this negative, not the minus, but the negative here. Okay? So negative 21, minus 8. So that will be negative 12.582 is our thousandth. Then we look to the number to the right, and it's 5, and 5 or bigger makes the number go up 1. So this would be 3. So it would be negative 12. Move this over a little bit. So it would be negative 12.583. Okay? And there's our answer. And again, it's asking, the method we chose was complete the square. Okay? So now the next one. The next one, we see that we've got a number over here and a number over here. Well, what I could do is I could just divide that by 3, divided by this number, and that gets rid of that. And then 75 divided by 3 is 25, and then I could just take square root of both sides. And then don't forget, when I square root a number, that it's plus and minus, so it'd be plus 5 or positive 5 and negative 5 is our answer. Okay, for number 9. And that method was the square roots method. Okay? Okay, now moving on to the bottom. Okay, x squared minus 48x minus 4x plus 68. Well, let's try our x. It's the first thing we want to try. So 68 goes here, 4 goes here. What multiplies to 68? Let's see. 1 times 68, 2 times what? What do I multiply times 2? I do 68 divided by 2. That's 34. And then let's see. Can I divide 3 into? Can I do 3? Divided by 68? No, 3 doesn't work. So let's try 4. 68 divided by 4, 17. I can't really make 4 with 17. I can't divide 5. I know that's not going to work. I know 6 isn't going to work either. 7's not going to work. How about 8? Divided by 8. No. How about 68 divided by 9? No. 68 divided by, well, I know 10 is not going to work. 11? No. 68 divided by 12? No. So it's looking like it's not going to work. Okay? So, and you could sit there and try to figure out maybe there's a number, but that's wasting a lot of time. So let's maybe try something else. Well, this number in the middle is an even number, so I could probably complete the square. So let's try that. Because that's really the second option we want to do. If we can't factor, let's try to complete the square. Okay, so minus 68. Remember, we want to move that number in the middle. Or, sorry, not the middle number, but the last number. Minus 4x equals negative 68. Okay, now I'm going to do a shortcut on this one. The shortcut is, if I take half of the middle number, which is negative 4, that goes here. And half of negative 4 is negative 2. And then, so again, that negative 2 came from me doing half of the negative 4. And I write the 68 here over here on the right. And then what I do is I add that same number that I just got squared. So negative 2 squared is going to be positive 4, and I add that to the right. Okay, so let's rewrite it. X minus 2 squared equals negative 68 plus 4, that's going to be negative 64. Okay, so now I got parentheses squared equals a number, so I'll take the square root. But if you notice here, I have a negative number. That's not good. Okay, we don't do square roots of negative numbers. Okay, so if that's the case, then we're not gonna end up with a real solution. So you can stop here. If you end up having to do a square root of a negative number, you can stop there and say there's going to be no real solution. Not no solution, because there is a solution. It's just not a real one. Okay? And then you could just say that the method you chose, or you tried, was complete the square. And maybe you tried quadratic formula and you ended up again having to do square root of a negative number, and you would still say no real solution. Okay? Now how about the next one? Okay, so this one, well, let's see. Well, I usually want everything to be on the left side. Okay, so let's minus the 4x here, minus the 1. And we'll do it to both sides, so minus 4x and minus 1. And now we'll have 2x squared minus 4x minus 1. So basically we just moved everything, equals 0. Now I could try the x. Let's see, negative 1 times 2. Remember, it's the first times the last, and then negative 4 goes on the bottom. And then what number is multiplied to 2? Well, the only thing that multiplies to 2 is 2 and 1. And there's no way that can get 4 with 2 and 1. So that's not going to work. So how about completing the square? Well, if I complete the square, I would have to do half of this number. And I can take half of that number. But the problem is with completing the square, I can't have a number bigger than 1 here. Because if you remember over here on the left, when I completed the square, I started with x squared. And if also you remember when we first went over the first page, and we completed the square, I divided everything by 2. And I did that not only to make it easier, but also because I have to have 1 in front. Okay? And if I did that, let's say I divided by 2. I divide by 2 here, divide by 2 here, divide by 2 here, divide by 2. Okay, well that works here. I get 2's cancel out, and then I get minus 2x. But then the problem is I end up with 1/2, 1 over 2. And I don't want to deal with 1/2. I don't want to deal with fractions. They just make things more complicated. So that's not going to work either. So then our last resort, our last option, is to do the, let's write it here, quadratic formula. Okay, so again, the first thing we want to do is look, we've already written it in the correct form, so let's write that again here, because I subtracted the 4x and the 1, so that we can have 0 on the right. So now, right out this way. And now let's identify A, and B, and C. Oops. Okay, so A is going to be the first number, 2. B is going to be the second number, -4. And C is going to be the third number, -1. Okay, so now what we're going to do is plug that into our quadratic formula. So now -1 times B, we always do times B, so -4 okay, and then plus and minus the square root of B squared, so that's -4 squared. I'm going to plug in -4, B is -4. And then we're going to do minus 4, it's always 4, times our A, which is 2, so I'm going to write 2 here, and then times C, and our C is -1. So I'm going to write a -1, I'm going to highlight it yellow, just to show you that that is our C. Okay? And then all of this over 2 times A, which is 2. Okay? Now we just go through and multiply and add up everything. So -1 times -4 is +4. And then -4 squared, well, -4 times -4 is 16. And then -4 times 2 is -8, and -8 times -1 is +9. So 16 plus 9. And then all over 2 times 2, which is 4. Okay, so now that equals 4 plus and minus 25, 16 plus 9, over 4. Okay, which again, we could do the square root of 25. So now that's plus and minus 5. Okay, so now we can get our two answers. Well, the first answer is going to be 4 plus 5, which is 9 over 4. And the second answer is going to be 4 minus 5, which is -1 over 4. Okay, and there's our answers. And again, it's okay if you end up with a fraction. You should end up with a fraction or like a decimal with it when you have to do the quadratic formula. If you have no choice. Okay, that's it.